read the AGM with the Chair's report and go through a few items there. Some highlights for the year 2024 of finances, and it's a slight low light actually. So we had a loss of 2,539 for the year. Going on to events. We took part in the launch of a report to a GSK to the government entitled The Value of Adult Vaccination in Ireland, where I spoke of having polio and the impact of this had on my life. We were invited to the Leinster House AV room to make a presentation to our TVs and senators by Senator Mary Sheehy Kennedy with Dr. Deirdre Murray, who you know is a physiotherapist who's done research on polio, Siobhan Banville, and members of Johnny O'Sullivan and John Dolan, highlighting the issues faced by polio survivors. Now in 24, we had 47 new members, and with a total membership of 972 for 2024. We had 5 new polio registrants, and with a total of 558 registrants since the launching of the register in 2017. And every year we are getting people to join us coming in. I mean, some people who've had a good and active life with polio, and then suddenly they're struck with PPS and they reach out to us then at that stage. 28 people went through active member volunteer training. This is excellent to have 20 people in a year doing active volunteer training, and we hope that that keeps up this year and in the years ahead, and 2 of which were board members. Now the B9 form is to increase the capacity of members to 1,500 to be registered with the company's registration office, and the G1 form has been submitted to the CRO office as well. These are technical forms that we're obliged to hand in with things. Nicola Fogarty, whom I introduced to you this morning, our new CEO, she commenced her post in July. Megan, Kathy and Jill left in 24. Kerry Donegan and Ciara Parr returned from maternity leave. Elizabeth Derwin, Siobhan Banville and Elaine Goomans joined our team as well. Several interns and transition year students also helped in the office, as well as member volunteers. I think it's great that we get interns and children that are doing experience coming into the office and learning about polio. That's a completely new ball game for them, and it increases awareness not only within Ireland but within America, because and other countries. So some of the volunteers that come in that are on study programs here in Ireland, come from all around the world, and it's a whole new insight as well, not just to Ireland, but to polio survivors within Ireland, which I think is a great thing. It's that. Pardon. Now, the minutes of the previous meeting last year, which was circulated at the AGM.
Acknowledgement there was copies left outside as well.
There were copies left outside, and the minutes of the meeting were sent out in the magazine. So those who have got the magazine, and then there were copies out in the hall. So has anybody any queries or issues with last year's minutes? No, thank you very much. That's great. And now I will ask Nicola to continue with the rest of the time being. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to cover a couple of slides on the strategic plan. Last year you would have been introduced to the plan for 2004 up into 2029. And I'd just like to go through what happened in 2024 and the achievements to date, because there's a lot of work went on with the team, a lot of achievements from the board to the staff to the volunteers and the members. And I just want to acknowledge that today. So obviously a plan of action based on the needs that were identified. There was a lot of work put into building the strategic plan and making sure that it identified the needs and had some actions around how we're going to meet those needs. So just to give you a snapshot of the work that went on for 2024. Now, to bear in mind that work was continuing on while they were finalising the strategic plan. But I just thought it'd be useful for you to see today the actions that are being achieved in the background. So there was several priorities identified in the strategic plan, and the first one there is services and supports. And some of this will be covered a little bit later in this presentation too, but just to give you a snapshot of maybe some of the actions that happened. So polio survivors received aids and appliances. A little bit later, I'll give you some figures on what that looked like. Tailored to their needs, funding supported, offered around physiotherapy, occupational therapy, counselling, chiropody and respite breaks were offered and supported to the members. Work began on investigating the development of a dedicated centre of treatment and support for polio survivors, with work ongoing, progress around that. So it's very at kind of conversational stage, looking at where we might get our influence from. I know Pat and Macrina are involved on an EU level, and it's important that we take some time to learn from other countries. And I know that was identified even on the accessibility measure by Matt earlier on in his presentation. So just to let you know that work is ongoing. There's a lot of work needed around that, and ideally we would like to see a centre for polio survivors in Ireland, but there's a good bit of work that's going to have to happen in the background to make that a reality. An annual winter heating grant was provided to polio survivors, and an additional funding was sourced to increase this support. So there's always work in the background. Emma will be heavily involved in that, in trying to get additional funding in to offer higher support around heating. And we got additional funding in this year too for that, just to acknowledge that. Hardship grants and stairlift assistance were delivered where needed. Under strategic priority 2, communication and promotions, the members receive regular communication on our work, activities and services supports offered to yourselves. Polio survivors continue to join the polio register, and membership has increased. So we did see a big increase last year, and as Macrina mentioned, we hope to see that increase even further. So at the moment, we feel we're reaching probably 1 in 4 people. So we're always trying to offer that support, and sometimes people will come if their needs change, but we're always trying to get that message out there that we're here to support, and we're always looking to increase that. We worked to better educate medical and social care professionals, public officials and public representatives on polio Behold an event in Leinster House with TDs in attendance and press activity designed to improve awareness of polio survivor issues. And we've something coming up this year too on that will be mentioned a little bit later on. Under strategic priority 3, around advocacy, we sustained our advocacy officer role. Campaigns were undertaken for improved medical entitlements for polio survivors. We worked to create more awareness around the specific needs of polio survivors within the primary care services. Research was conducted on specific needs of migrant polio survivors. Advocacy with partner organisations to address the issues around social welfare payments to reduce poverty amongst polio survivors. Collaborative work with other disability organisations to strengthen advocacy on a wider issues affecting polio survivors also went underway. A lot of this is going to be discussed a little bit later also, but it's just to give you a snapshot. Strategic priority 4 of the strategic plan, organisational growth and development. The board applied its skills, experience and capacity effectively in fulfilling its responsibilities. Polio Survivors Ireland was supported by a highly skilled and motivated staff team, board members and staff engaged in international polio networks. Research opportunities to provide knowledge, to improve knowledge on the late effects of polio were identified. Measures were taken to mitigate the reduction in active members fulfilling roles across the organisation. Additional external volunteers were recruited and steps were taken to increase the membership of migrant polio survivors. Under strategic priority 5, sustainability, the HSE funding was increased in line with inflammatory costs. New sources of long-term funding were explored. The PUBL SSNO funding continued to support the advocacy and policy officer role and the member engagement officer support roles too. Fundraising income was increased. Any questions on that piece on the strategic plan before I move on? No. And as part of the service delivered for 2024, I thought it was important to show the hard work of the team and the achievements to date. So I previously introduced it kind of virtually, and some are here to kind of put their hand up to the team. But I think it's important just to acknowledge the work of each sector. So under service provision for 2024, Carrie Donegan and Ciara Hudson provide the following services for 2024. And between two part-time staff, there's a huge amount of work you'll see that's been achieved. So 70 survivors are provided with aids and appliances, including wheelchairs, orthodontics, customised footwear and mobility scooters. 60 survivors were provided with therapies such as physiotherapy, occupational therapy, chiropathy and counselling. 32 survivors and their carers were provided with respite breaks. 267 survivors were provided with winter heating grants of up to €125. 232 members attended meetings of our 18 social support groups, which is fantastic. 241 polio survivors were supported on a one-to-one basis with information, advice and individual advocacy. 38 members were supported by telephone support, and we're seeing that increasing for this year, which is fantastic. 78 members attended our annual conference, and I'm sure that that's including people that attended online also. And we can see today that that's going to hugely increase for today, which is fantastic. 82 members attended 8 area information meetings in various locations around the country. 980 members received their Survivor magazine, and a lot of work goes into that to make sure you get that information. And a lot of work goes into the magazine. It's a fantastic magazine. 320 members received our monthly e-zine, and 158 non-members, polio survivors, received 3 information bulletins. So there's a lot of information. It really is an information-driven service, and a lot of hard work goes in the background. So I have to commend the team for that. Advocacy and Policy Officer. So this role covered by Ciara Power, which has moved on, but she's still working with us on an ad hoc basis while she finishes her thesis for college. And Siobhan Benville has stepped into that role, which we're so thankful for, to raise the profile of polio survivors and call for changes in national policy, health services and state benefits. This is not an easy task, and you'll hear more about that a little bit later and at the time, but there's been huge work being done last year that's rolled into this year. And last it kind of began that there was a cross-sectional collaboration engagement with the umbrella organisations such as Disability Federation Ireland, Neurological Alliance of Ireland and disabled person organisations. So there's a huge amount of work with some big organisations out there in coming together. We have a stronger voice if we come together. So there's a huge work that goes into those and attending meetings and coming together as a common voice. Sustained engagement with TDs, Oireachtas members, government departments and committee via meetings, the AV room event, letters, PQs, etc. Policy submissions and briefing documents circulated with detailed advocacy asked. Circulated collaborative letter highlighting the disability-related issues within the direct provision to relevant government bodies. Completed a review of existing health and neurological services in Ireland for comparison analysis with polio services in the UK and EU. The member engagement officers, Nuala and Orna, provided the various supports, social support groups around the country, and we're looking to increase those and look for replacing conveners in certain areas. And there's been huge work been done on that. We trained, I think, 8 conveners and conveners last year in taking on those roles. So, and we appreciate all the work that goes into that, both from the team and from the volunteers. Area meetings took place. Individual members were contacted and offered support. And that's huge. It's the phone call and it's someone down the other end of the phone offering support or just a kind listening ear. Just to commend the ladies on that. Social support group growth and development and streamlining were one of the outcomes. Provided online and in-person training. Increase the numbers on the SSG meetings. Increasing the attendance on those meetings, which we are seeing growing, which is fantastic. Area meetings around the country, we increased those last year, and we've looked to increase them again this year, and maybe be mindful of the number of years that we're having those meetings, increase attendance, and trying to choose venues that are easier accessible. And listen to Matt earlier, we'll definitely be looking for Matt's advice or scouring his website for the best hotels in the future. Around IT digital skills, we did an assessment and we felt that that was maybe a strong need, but what the outcome of that was, there was very little uptake in the digital skills. It was just sometimes people needed a bit of support or just that, again, kind listening ear. There was wider issues sometimes that we needed to maybe either try to look after ourselves or refer on to another organisation. Any questions on that piece before I pass on to Fintan? Nope. So I just want to thank the team again for all of the hard work that went in. I know I ran through a lot of that there, but there's a huge amount of work and I just wanted to capture that. You will hear a bit more from other people as we go on, and Siobhan is going to do a presentation towards the end to highlight all the great work. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicola. It's my pleasure to present the Company Secretary's report. This is my final report as Company Secretary. As ever, this is quite a short report, so I won't delay. Just from a governance perspective, the company and its officers have all made returns required to the regulatory authorities, in particular the charity regulator. The company officers and directors have, as far as we are aware, complied with all necessary statutory provisions. It was a particularly busy year, and the board have had 11 meetings this year, or in the last year. In addition, there have been 11 meetings of the board subcommittees. They are Service Quality and Safety, Governance and Compliance, Audit and Finance, and the Board Nominations Committee. In accordance with the Constitution, Ms. Macrina Clancy, Ms. Miriam Kavanagh, and myself are stepping down from the board at this year's AGM, having completed our 6 years, that is the term of office. Mr. Charlie Smith stepped down from the board earlier this year, and Mr. Pat McGillion has stepped down in September of this year. The elected directors for the year ahead, therefore, are Frank Mitchell, Pat Ryan, and Zainab Salman. And the board nominated directors are James Dorley, and the following require ratification of the board as they joined the board since the last AGM. They are Vera Keatings, Janet Cunningham, and Paul Dunn. So I have 3 resolutions that require approval at the AGM. The first one I can't because the finance report is still to be given, but Macrina can do that, or Miriam can do that as part of hers. The second one is to appoint Whelan, Dowling and Associates as the auditors for 2025. So I need approval. You'll do that later stage. Okay. And then the last one is to ratify the appointment of the board nominated directors who I've just listed there. Any questions? No. That concludes my last report as Company Secretary as I step down. I just want to acknowledge 1 or 2 people. I want particularly Emma and the team and Fran, who's left us, for all their support over my 6 years. But there's 2 people in particular I would like to I wish Nicola well in her role as CEO. But 2 people I've worked with over those 6 years very closely, have learned from and have enjoyed thoroughly. That's Macrina Clancy as chair, and indeed Pat McGettigan as well. In particular, I would like to acknowledge their support throughout the 6 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Fintan. Okay, so this is the exciting part. We're looking at the financials, and you'll be happy to know it's not very long. So a quick oversight of the 2023 or the 2024 financial accounts. Yeah, it's so our income. I suppose the broad message is the 2024 financials are very similar to 2023. And it's so the heading is wrong on this, but it's so a slight increase in our income. We are still in receipt of the Pubble grant last year, which was mentioned. Our total expenditure was 622,000, and I'll show a little breakdown of that. A good cash balance at the end of the year of 134,000, and that gives us a total loss for 2023 was 5,000 600, and for 2024 last year the deficit was 2,500. So looking at the income, you can see obviously our biggest funder is the HSE, funding us to the tune of just under 400,000. The grant from Pobble is the kind of next large section there, but also I think I would just draw your attention to the size of the pie for fundraising and grants that we receive. And so that's a combination of the fundraising that's done by the members and also the work that the office do in applying for grants and successfully applying for those and getting those funds. And they are critical to supplement the income that comes from the HSE. And a breakdown of the expenditure then, as I said, it was just over 600,000. So the biggest expenditure there is the admin staff costs. So you saw all of the people today, and you've heard from Nicola as to the work that's done in this organisation. And I think you'll agree it is value for money, you know, for what members are getting from staff in particular. Some of the other larger costs are the provision of equipment, so those aids and appliances to members, and also then services such as OT and physio. So that's the breakdown of the expenditure for the year. Fintan spoke about a resolution to appoint the auditors, Whelan Dowling and Associates. These were auditors that we had appointed for this previous audit. We're recommending that they are appointed again. They have good experience. We spoke to them afterwards. They presented the accounts to the board that we are now presenting to you. So we would be recommending that they are approved. So yeah, I suppose if anybody has any questions. I didn't go too much into the detail. I know copies of the financial statements, printed copies are available should you wish to get into the detail of it. But yeah. Is there a microphone?
Thank you. The question I have is on costs. You have provision of equipment, which I know what it is, wheelchairs, etc.
Mm-hmm.
The second item, member support staff costs. What is that?
They're the support members. So those would be the staff cost for the MVRO. So those would include so they're mostly paid through the public grant. So it would be those staff. So we have it split between there's two types of staff. There's admin staff and there's support staff. So you'd have the administrative working in the office, they're the admin staff, and there's
that's the one under overheads.
It's under expenditure, administration, admin staff costs.
Yeah.
And then you have, so the staff costs, there's two types of staff. There's a member support staff or there's admin staff.
But they all do the same thing.
Well, there is a distinction. I think Nicola has gone through the different roles in the office.
No, in fairness to Nicola, she's only here 2 months, so I wouldn't nail her with these questions.
Fair enough.
But I'm certainly going to nail you.
Okay.
I know it with the utmost respect. The other question I have as well is, earlier when Nicola was introducing the staff that do a great job, and they do, she introduced Elizabeth.
It's beside you there.
Elizabeth, hello Elizabeth. She introduced Elizabeth and says Elizabeth does accounts, bookkeeping. Just bookkeeping. So is Elizabeth on the payroll?
Yes, Elizabeth is the administrator.
Okay, well, if Elizabeth's on the payroll, why are we paying $2.5 grand for bookkeeping?
It's a separate.
No, that's okay, but this is 24 I'm looking at.
Yep.
Yeah, but the bookkeeper was on the payroll. Yeah, so why are we paying separate for bookkeeping when the person is on the payroll?
Because
No, it's not. And the question I have to ask is, whoever was doing Elizabeth's job in 24, because I know you weren't there, you paid $2.5 grand, give or take, or $3 grand, I think, if my memory serves me right, which is exactly what we lost for the year. And I noticed again this year, we paid $2.5 grand to bookkeeping, and which is what we lost.
when,
So if
when you're saying
Elizabeth,
this year, you're talking about 2024.
yes, yeah. So if Elizabeth or whoever was doing Elizabeth's job in 2024 was getting paid a salary, Elizabeth, you can answer this and this question. Whoever was doing the job in 24, why is it listed separate? I get payroll being listed
Because it
separate.
was outsourced.
Ah. So whoever was doing the payroll wasn't doing the payroll, or not the payroll, the
No, but
bookkeeping.
there's a separate. I mean, there's providing the data, the documentation, the signing off of documents within the office. That has to happen, and that goes to the. I'm not working in the office.
No, that's
so,
okay. I understand that.
But bookkeeping is a separate function to
So
what was provided.
Did the accountants do the
2024.
bookkeeping?
So accountants.
Did
the-
our accountants, our
No, the
auditors?
accountants are auditors. They
No, I
don't
know
do
that. I
bookkeeping.
know that. Yeah.
So they're separate
Okay. No, I'm just wondering why bookkeeping is left out separate.
because they were paid separately. They're not a staff member. So the
But
bookkeeper
you
was
said
not
you-
a member of staff.
No, sorry. You did say that the person doing the bookkeeping was on the staff and was paid. So I'm
I never
wondering.
said that.
No, you did. You want me to play it back?
You can if you want. I never. In 2025, I believe there's
No,
a change.
we're in 24.
So in 2024,
Yeah.
Elizabeth was not working, so she wasn't
No,
doing
but there was a
accounts.
person.
There was somebody who was an administrative officer was working in the office
Okay.
in 2024. That person was not doing the bookkeeping. The
Okay.
bookkeeping was provided by an external person.
Okay. So when I look at these accounts for this year, 2025, next
20
year,
Yeah,
will I see bookkeeping or will I see Elizabeth?
I can't answer that. That's not something that I have oversight on.
Okay. It just seemed silly to, because I did bookkeeping and accountancy for 40 years, and that's why I'm reading this question. If you get my drift.
Okay.
You're either pregnant or you're not pregnant. My point is that if you're an employee and you're doing the bookkeeping, it shouldn't appear on the accounts.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's
So
the
if
point I
you're,
want
if
to
you're,
make.
if somebody in the office
So,
was providing bookkeeping, was doing that as part of their job, then of course you wouldn't be double paying somebody else externally.
exactly.
I have to say, like, this organization has been, if you have worries about how the organization was run in 2024, I wouldn't have. I've seen how these decisions were made, and we entrusted Fran at the time to run the organization, the day-to-day running of
Oh
the
no, I have
organization.
no problem with all
And
that. No.
he had made arrangements for a bookkeeper to be paid because they were doing the role of a bookkeeper.
Okay, so between the 9 people, 5 permanent and 4 part-time, which is shown on the accounts, with nobody that
There's-
could,
How many?
5 and 4.
Everyone is part-time, except for the CEO,
You tell me everyone's part-time.
except for Nicola, yeah?
So, but it says on the accounts 5 and 4. Oh, no, sorry, lads. We're doing an audit for 24, not
We're
25.
not doing an audit.
Well,
We're not doing an audit.
we're doing a presentation. Can we keep it to 24? Last year on the accounts, there was 5 permanent and 4.
Where are you seeing that information?
If you
This says there's a salary band of the employees, the number of employees, but it doesn't say.
Sapphire, I don't have it with me, but it does say it. Anyway, my point is, between the 9 of them, could one of them not do a little bit of bookkeeping, which is probably 3 to 5 invoices coming in a week, maybe?
So you're asking a question of me, the treasurer, about what happened in 2024.
No, I'm making a point to Nicola that this is what's going to be coming next year.
That's a conversation you can have.
Yeah. I just don't want her jumping in next year and finding me a little shark waiting for her. So I'm just saying, if there's 9 people working in the office, be it part-time, whatever, can one of them not just do accounts? Because you don't get very much. I set up the account system years ago in the place. And if I got one invoice, I'd faint. Seriously, you don't get that much in. So it's easy to do.
It's easy to say.
No, Jesus. I don't know.
It's easy to say.
Anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much.
Now we want to have the resolutions that are coming up here now. And the first is to approve the 2024 accounts. So if I could have a proposer and a seconder, please. Could I have somebody to propose the accounts, if we accept the accounts? John Dempsey, and a seconder, John Dolan. Thank you both. And second resolution is to appoint Whelan Dowling and Associates as the accountants for the 2025 accounts. That gentleman, Chair. And a seconder, please. And this gentleman up here. That's it. Thank you. And now we need to ratify the appointment of the board nominated directors. Let me see. And I have the names of the directors again. You have 3 cards. The board nominated directors are Vera and those the other ones. No, yeah, that's not the nominated, they're the elected ones. Yeah, but what's Vera's surname? First of all, Vera Keating. Now, Vera Keating, if you remember, was at our board meeting last year. Could I have a green card for Dr. Vera Keating, please? For those passed. So there's like, please hold them up while the count is being done. I'm going to have my own green card. I'll have to take it out of the table. And any on that line, the cat and hands for those online. Thank you. Anybody against? And any abstain? No, nobody against. Any abstentions? No abstentions. Thank you. The next vote is for so the next vote now will be for Janet Cunningham. Could I have a vote, those in favour of appointing Janet Cunningham, please? And any abstentions? None. And any against? And the third vote is for Paul Dunn to be board member. Please, those in favour, green cards. Anybody against? And any abstentions? None. Thank you. So there's five. Abstentions, we go there. Let's go backwards. We just have to wait a minute now to get the totals of both the postal votes and the votes taken now. Sorry, I forgot when we had proposers and seconders, but I forgot to ask for a vote for the audit. So for the 224 audit to pass those, we've had a proposers and a seconder. So could I have votes to pass the accounts, please? Those in favour? Any votes, any abstentions? And any votes against? 3. Thank you. So we'll just wait for a moment for the tallies of those. The accounts. The numbers together. And for the accountants, for the appointment of the auditors, sorry, could we have those in favour of reappointing Neil Downey votes? Anyone against? The auditors, no. Any abstentions? No. Thank you. Now I have to go back just for those who are voting online for the nominated directors. So for those voting out, we have voted here in the room, but for those voting online, would they wishing to vote online for the appointment of Vera Keating, would you please use your raised hand? That's those online. And I now move on to Janet Cunningham. Those online, would you please raise your hand? Those voting in favour of Janet Cunningham's appointment to the board. And those online voting for Paul Dunn, would you please raise your hands? For Dunn, thank you. Yeah, so that the votes have been counted and we'll be able to announce them to you shortly. We'll just take a minute or two. We haven't gone all digital on the voting yet, you know. Name then anyway, because it's good to have these things. No. It's not. Mhm. It's the totals of all of these votes. Mhm. Yeah, is that the totals? Yeah, does it include those voted by Zoom? Oops, yeah. Now we have the votes together, and I will just read you out the totals. The votes include votes by post, votes on Zoom and votes in the room. So for resolution number 1, it was passed by 187 votes. There were no abstentions and there were 3 against. Resolution number 2, 183 in favour and no abstentions, none against. Resolution number 3A, 178. Resolution 3B, 180. And resolution C3, 175. And that is the results of the votes today on the thing. So we now move on to the elected. Sorry, around the wrong direction. Now, in relation to election of board members, 5 members applied to go on the board. There were 5 vacancies. So the 5 vacancies on the board, there was, and 5 people coming forward for election. There was no need to call for a vote as all the candidates are therefore deemed elected. I'll read their names: Susan Dowling, Anne Burns, Maureen Corcoran, who unfortunately is attending by Zoom because they have COVID in the family. Bouquet and Yomi these are all elected now, to the new members elected to the board, and congratulations to them. It's always wonderful to see people coming forward to go on the board and for fresh blood and fresh ideas to keep the organisation going and to moving it forward and to helping us. I would like to say that this is my last board meeting, and I would just like to express what an honour it has been to be the chair of Polio Survivors Ireland. I couldn't have had greater honour in my life. I have been fully supported by the board members and by the staff, all of whom have helped me in every way. And whenever I've called on them for advice, for information, they've always come forward, and I've appreciated it tremendously. It's a great team effort, and I feel blessed to have had such an outstanding board with me, working with me, and also the wonderful cooperation from the staff, and always willing to do whatever they were asked to do. So it's and we've been able to come to decisions together in a great spirit of harmony and hard work, and always keeping polio survivors' needs to the fore. So I wish to say thank you to the members and to the board and to the staff for the honour that you've given me in being your board.
I'm not too sure if there's any questions there. I don't know if the mic is there. Okay, just trying to locate the mic there.
Hello. Paul McAvoy.
Hi, Paul.
How many members on the board?
I think we're full capacity now, are we?
Which is,
12, 11.
well, through the chair, can 12 members on the board be justified? Sorry, I can't hear you.
Fantastic. Okay.
The number of board members are outlined in our constitution. It's divided into 2 groups: 5 board members are nominated board members. These are people that don't necessarily have polio, but have specific expertise. And when the board looks for people with outside the organisation to come on and give it fresh ideas and for governance point of view. So, for instance, the accountant was Miriam Kavanagh there for the last number of years. The other, as just one example, and the Constitution then allows for 7 members to be polio survivors. Or sorry, 8 members that are polio survivors. And it's done in such a way that, as you can see, that 8 polio survivors outweighs the 5 experts, as it were. So that when it comes to voting and in terms of corporate governance, that is the number that we have. And they're all hard working, and they all take, so that they chair then various subcommittees. A board director must be the chair of any of the subcommittees. And so apart from the 11 meetings that were held as board members for 24, those directors would have been chairing or participating in subcommittee meetings as well. And this works in with the governance details required by the charity regulator. So we have to go through all the charity. There's a lot of work that the board do. We're all volunteers. And it's the board that finalises the direction of the organisation and then supervises and maintains that, and that the staff at the end of the day ultimately report to. So there are policies and procedures to be drawn up and done. And as I say, all the board members are volunteers, they're unpaid, and yet they have these responsibilities for financial governance, for corporate governance, for policies and procedures, and to make sure that everything is done in such a way that, to the best, in keeping with the law of the land, the requirements of the charity regulator for good governance and supervision. And so, yes, I would think all 13, but those are the numbers available in our constitution. That was agreed by the members when it was updated several years ago to comply with the recent legislation that came in around 2017, I think. I wouldn't be sure of the exact year, but all organisations had to review their constitution some years ago, and ours are fully in compliant with all of those regulations. So I hope that answers your question.
It does indeed. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And may I say, that's one of the best explanations I've heard all day. Thank you very much.